If every time you go to create a post, you're starting from scratch, you are 100% overcomplicating it. Let me show you how to set up Adobe Express to create a centralized content creation system for yourself as an artist. So let's pop over to Adobe Express. You'll see this kind of home page. One of the first things you need to do in order to start using Adobe Express as this hub for your content is create a brand. So all you need to do is click these little three dots here, say more, go to brands. I'm gonna hit create brand. I'm gonna do a manual setup. Say Fabiola Lara 2026. And I'm gonna save it to my personal storage. So once you create your brand, let's start uploading stuff. Logos, I'm gonna hit upload logos, and I have all of these horizontal word marks. I'm gonna hit open. Perfect, now I have everything in here. Now I wanna upload my colors. So I'm gonna hit add colors and drop in some of the hex codes from my brand deck. And there you go, I have all of my color palettes uploaded. For fonts, you can add your own fonts. So I have some uploaded fonts that I use all of the time. And I, of course, have a license to use these fonts. Alternatively, you could also just pick fonts from Adobe. So another font that I tend to use sometimes is Poppins. So don't hesitate to use Adobe fonts because it's extremely handy. If you wanted to add your own custom font again, you just go to add font, upload font. It's a premium feature. You click the font that you want, you hit open, and you make sure you have the license for it, and you can hit open. I've already uploaded this before, so that's why it's giving me that. And then it'll just show up right there. From here, the last thing is graphics. Now I have a few graphics that I like to use all the time. And then I'm also going to add under graphics, photos. Now, if we go to overview, you can see my logos, my colors, my fonts, and my graphics all in one place. Super easy. And I can even share this with people. It's extremely, extremely handy. Once you have your brand set up, I want to show you how to set up files and projects so that you can really get organized in Adobe Express. Let's go over to your stuff. And so I'm going to hit create folder, and I'm going to say social content demo 2026. Now from here, we can start creating even more folders. And then in here, you would upload any assets that you might need for that. Another way you could maybe organize yourself if you're an artist is instead of creating a social demo folder is create, let's say, a folder that's like 2026 artwork. So in 2026 artwork, you can add more folders, traditional, sketchbook, digital, create. So now as we create stuff, we would add it to these folders. Let me show you a great example of using the sketchbook one. I'm gonna pop over to Photoshop. So this is a scan I took from my sketchbook, right? And now I want to save it so that it's accessible in Adobe Express. Let me show you how I would do that. I would hit save as, and here, instead of just saving it into my file system, I'm gonna say save to Adobe Cloud, and then I'm gonna go to your files and find that folder. So 2026 artwork, sketchbook, and I'm gonna rename it 01 soccer, save. Then go back to Adobe Express and you'll see it just showed up right here. And you can see I can just go ahead and do that with all of the scans that I have. Anytime you make changes to that Photoshop file, it will be reflected in Adobe Express, so keep that in mind. Now let me show you projects. Pop on over to projects. Let's create a new project, and this time we're gonna call it mini print promo. So this is my workspace for all of my mini print related Adobe Express files. This is the beauty of projects. You can add someone and they will have access to anything within this project. And I'm gonna hit add to project. I'm gonna go to 2026 artwork, sketchbook, and I'm gonna select both of these items, hit add. Once you're in here, you can create folders. So I'm gonna create a sketchbook folder and drag and drop them in here. So in this workspace, I could have my sketchbook scans, I could have flyer designs, newsletter assets. I can really get organized. We can also hit add and add a brand. So here's my Fabiola Lara 2026 brand that we made. I'm gonna select it, hit link. And now this entire project is also linked to that brand. One of the other things you can add to a project is templates. So let's go over to templates. I'm gonna hit view all. I'm gonna hit client testimonial, customize this template. I'm gonna hit apply brand, and now it magically applied my entire brand to it. I can still make other adjustments. So let's say I actually want this to be Poppins and go ahead and do that. This background is a photo, so let's replace that with one of my brand photos. Replace. Love that. Then I'm going to turn this white with a brown outline. So here I'm just fine tuning it. Let's go back to my project. I just created that Instagram story. I'm going to go ahead and add it to here. So let's say I want to hit add. This one that we just worked on, add it here. Now, anyone who is accessing this project will have access to this file. Another thing I can do is I can convert this file to a template. I'm going to say client review template. Use this for stories and newsletter. Convert to template. And now when we're looking at this project, this has now become a client template that anyone can use. Now, another thing I want to do is use those sketchbook scans, right? So I'm going to go ahead and create a file. And I want it to be Instagram portrait post. Using my brand, I'm going to go ahead and select the background color, February sketches. I'm going to go to your stuff, projects. Here we go. I had a sketchbook scans folder in this project. So I'm going to select this one here, place as a linked image. I'm going to also hit remove background. And it removes the background for me effortlessly. I didn't even have to do that in Photoshop. I was just able to do that right in Express. And the last thing I'll show you that's really cool about Adobe Express as your content creation hub is that you can share directly from Adobe Express. So if you hit share and we go to schedule post, I can now select my Instagram. Perfect. It's going to be a post and I can write my latest sketches from the game. I'm going to hit schedule for later and I hit schedule and I can then view my calendar and I can see everything that I have scheduled coming up. All right, I just showed you a ton of different ways that you can use Adobe Express to create a content creation hub for yourself as an artist. So now you have no reason not to post your content. See you in the next one. Bye.